For most of us, the past 2 years have been disruptive and unsettling and caused various degrees of discomfort and pain. Much like an X-ray, which indicates even the faintest bone fractures, the 2020-2021 X-ray machine has relentlessly exposed the cracks in our relationships, the shadow side of our personalities, our deepest fears and uncertainties, and our often rather flimsy spiritual foundations. In general, it has rattled our cages. We were blown out of whatever comfort zone we were in. In essence, it was a time of purification and stripping away. For many of us, it felt like we were walking through fire, and it often left us feeling exhausted, depleted, anxious, bruised, battered, broken, and even bitter. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Rudy Labuschagne, and thank you for joining us for these Big Shift conversations. During these conversations, we look at life through a different lens. We deliberately try to find a new way of looking at things by seeking answers from the ageless wisdom of the soul and not the programmed and fear-driven chatter of the ego mind. In the greater scheme of things, nothing happens by chance. What we have experienced the past 2 years, and to be clear, it is not over yet, can be explained once we realize what is happening on a grander cosmic level and particularly in the zodiac. In Western astrology, and formerly astronomy, the zodiac is divided into 12 signs, roughly corresponding to the star constellations Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. What is very interesting is that every 2,160 years, the Earth moves into a new zodiac cycle, and this process is called the precession of the equinox. The precession of the equinox is a 12-handed clock, much like the clock you see on the wall. The 12 numbers are the constellations of the zodiac, also known as star signs. This clock moves over a very long time span. One period, or hour, takes roughly 2,160 years before it moves into the next constellation. After 2,160 years, the period that is now drawing to a close on this clock is the age of Pisces, and the symbol of Pisces is a fish, and we all know that it also happens to be the symbol of Christianity. The age of Pisces was also the age of the patriarchy and male dominance, large corporates, materialism, profit at all cost, urbanization, and loss of community life. People became very affluent, but also desperately lonely. As we now enter the next phase, the so-called Age of Aquarius, things are starting to change, and we can already see signs of that. The rise of the feminine, more women in leadership positions, an intolerance for blatant greed and materialism, and a pushback against discrimination. There is a growing distrust in political leaders and a demand to put power back into the hands of the people. There is a revolt against the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. Green living, organic food, artisan baking, cooking and crafts, respect for all forms of life, joining a community, and a concerted effort to live more simply so that more people can simply live are all busy trending. But there is also a more transcendent reason why this is happening. We are, symbolically speaking, being offered an opportunity to pass through the eye of the needle. Christians will recall that Jesus also spoke about passing through the eye of the needle. We are now at that point. The eye of the needle is symbolic of a threshold crossing. It is the gateway into an enlightened space. But it requires from those of us who are seeking entrance to the treasure house of the soul to shed our ego baggage, to be humble enough and light enough to pass through the gate and move towards a new state of consciousness. You may remember that Jesus once said that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle to enter the kingdom of heaven than for someone who cannot let go of his or her ego stuff. So what is it that we should let go of? Things like separation, limitation, fear, arrogance, pride, judgments, lack, blaming, complaining, self-doubt, victimhood, control, caution, power, and attaching to the past. The past few years were a time of shedding and letting go. We are being prepared for the new heaven and the new earth that offers a more enlightened way of living. That is exactly what the age of Aquarius is all about. One day, we will look back and be grateful for these challenging years, which pruned and prepared us for this new chapter in the history of humanity. This is the big shift, and how exciting it is to be part of that. May we have the wisdom to let go of all our baggage, so we can pass through the eye of the needle. As someone said, enlightenment is ego's ultimate disappointment. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, may life find you awake, aware, and alive.